Ford spent $500 million building their greatest truck ever, then sold the entire operation to a competitor for less than half that within 2 years. The truck was fine. Drivers loved it. Ford just never actually cared about truckers. For a while, if you were driving through Kentucky and you said the truck plant, people knew exactly which one you meant. Not the one making Rangers and Explorers on Fern Valley Road, the other one, out on Chamberlain Lane, the one that opened up in 1969, built specifically to make heavy trucks. Big rigs, semis, Class 8 conventional trucks that could pull a fully loaded trailer across the country. And for close to 3 decades, that plant did exactly that. It built the L Series, which everybody just called the Louisville line, because that's where they were made. And eventually it built the Aeromax, which was Ford's answer to the aerodynamic trucks that Kenworth and the other manufacturers were starting to roll out in the 80s. And here's the thing that people forget now, because Ford hasn't made a semi-truck in almost 30 years, so it feels like they were never really in that business to begin with. But they were. In the mid-70s, Ford held around 15% of the entire heavy truck market in North America. That's not a hobby. That's not a side project some regional manager talked the board into. That's a real, meaningful chunk of an industry where Kenworth, Peterbilt, Mack, and International were the names everybody grew up with. Ford was in that conversation. Drivers bought Louisville trucks because they were solid, because you could spec them with a Cummins or a Cat engine depending on what you wanted, and because the dealer network actually knew how to support them. I remember looking into old trucking forums while researching this, guys who drove Louisvilles back in the 70s and 80s, and the way they talk about it, it's not like talking about some forgettable also-ran truck. It's closer to how people talk about an old pickup they used to own. There's this kind of affection there. One guy described his LT L9000 as the truck that never gave him trouble on a grade, which if you know anything about how brutal mountain routes are on a heavy truck, that's a real compliment. That's not nothing. So if the trucks were good and the market share was real, what actually went wrong? The first crack, and this is where it gets interesting, showed up earlier than people think. By 1987, Ford's share of the heavy truck market had already slid from that 15% down to around 10%. And at that point, and I want you to sit with this for a second, industry analysts were already speculating that Ford might exit the heavy truck business. In 1987, that's 10 years before it actually happened, the Louisville plant was reportedly running at around half capacity around that time, so this wasn't some sudden decision that came out of nowhere in the late 90s. The warning signs had been sitting there for a decade, plain as day, and Ford kept saying the opposite of what the numbers were telling them. And that's the part that gets me, because Ford's own heavy truck sales manager right around this period went on record saying they planned to be among the leaders in the heavy truck field going into the 90s. That's a real quote from a real executive at the company. Not "we're evaluating our options," not "we're monitoring the market." A direct statement of intent to compete and to lead. And then the opposite of that happened pretty much across the board. So what did Ford actually do to try to turn it around? Because they did try. In 1988, they rolled out the Aeromax, which was their aerodynamic truck, styled with the sloped hood and the more rounded front end that was supposed to cut wind resistance and improve fuel economy. Because by the late 80s, fuel efficiency was becoming a real selling point in a way it hadn't been before. And on paper, this looked like exactly the right move. Kenworth had already had success with their T600, which was also built around aerodynamic styling, so Ford wasn't wrong to think that's where the market was heading. The idea was sound. But the sales just weren't there. And this is one of those situations in business history where you can point to a decision that made sense on paper and looked like the right read of where the industry was going, and it still didn't work. The Aeromax never captured the kind of market enthusiasm Ford needed it to. Buyers weren't switching over from Kenworth or Peterbilt or Freightliner in the numbers Ford needed, and meanwhile the fleets that were already loyal to those other brands just kept buying what they knew. And then Ford did something that, looking back, is almost hard to believe given what happened right after. In the early 90s, they invested something like $500 million into an entirely new heavy truck platform called the HN80. This was a full redesign. New styling, updated engineering, meant to modernize both the Louisville and the Aeromax lines going into the back half of the decade. This wasn't a facelift. This was Ford putting real serious money on the table, betting that a fully modern truck platform could turn their market share back around. That platform launched for the 1996 model year. And by February of 1997, so barely a year later, Ford announced they were getting out of the heavy truck business entirely. Think about that timeline for a second. $500 million into a brand new platform, and less than 2 years later, the whole division gets sold off. That's not a company that ran out of patience over decades of slow decline. That's a company that made one more big swing, watched it not connect fast enough, and pulled the plug almost immediately. Which tells you something about how thin the patience actually was by that point, and probably something about what else was going on inside Ford at the time that had nothing to do with trucks at all. The buyer was Freightliner, which at the time was owned by Daimler-Benz, and the price, according to the reporting from back then, was somewhere around $200 million, against a platform that had just cost $500 million to develop. So Ford ate a loss of roughly $300 million on the truck platform alone, not even counting decades of prior investment in the plant, the tooling, the dealer relationships, all of it. An analyst quoted at the time put it pretty plainly, said it made sense because Ford wasn't a big player in the big truck market and the business wasn't profitable for them. Which, fair enough, that's probably true, but it's also the kind of statement that only sounds obvious after the fact. 10 years earlier, Ford's own people were talking about becoming leaders in that same market. With the deal, Freightliner picked up more than just the trucks. They got the rights to the L Series and the B Series platforms, and they took over Ford's number 2 position in the market, pushing Freightliner's own share up to somewhere around 38%, more than doubling their dealer network overnight. So this wasn't just Ford losing a business line. It was Ford handing a direct competitor a massive strategic gift at a moment when that competitor was already the market leader. You couldn't design a worse outcome for Ford's competitive position if you tried. And here's a detail that a lot of people miss when they tell this story, because it's easy to assume Ford just shut the whole thing down and walked away clean. They didn't. The Louisville plant itself wasn't sold. Ford kept the building, kept the workforce, and told everyone the facility would switch over to producing medium and light-duty commercial trucks instead. The heavy truck brand and the platform went to Freightliner, who relaunched it under a new name, Sterling Trucks, and kept building those same L-Series-based trucks under that badge until 2009. So for over a decade after Ford walked away, you could still see the bones of the Louisville truck out on the highway, just wearing a different name on the grill. Meanwhile, back at the actual plant in Kentucky, something else was happening that puts the whole decision in a completely different light. Because right around the same period Ford was exiting heavy trucks, demand for their Super Duty pickup line was taking off. And the Kentucky truck plant, the same physical building that used to build Class 8 semis, got repurposed to build F-250s, F-350s, and eventually the Ford Expedition and the Lincoln Navigator. Big trucks and big SUVs, just not the kind that pull a 40-foot trailer across 3 states. And when you put those two things side by side, the semi-truck exit and the pickup expansion, the decision starts to look less like Ford failed at making semis, and a lot more like Ford looked at 2 different uses for the same floor space and picked the one with better margins. Because a Super Duty pickup or a full-size SUV sold to a much bigger consumer market with way less price competition from 4 or 5 entrenched heavy truck manufacturers, that's just a better business. It's not close, honestly. You're not fighting Kenworth and Peterbilt and Mack for every single sale. You're selling into a market where Ford already had brand strength that went back generations. There's an investment that happened years later that kind of proves this out on its own. In the early 2010s, Ford put $80 million into that same Kentucky plant, specifically to increase Super Duty pickup capacity, adding around 55,000 vehicles a year in output. Compare that to the $500 million they'd sunk into the HN80 heavy truck platform just a decade and a half earlier, a platform that got sold off within 2 years of launching. One investment kept paying off for years. The other one barely survived past its own launch date. That's not really a story about trucks being good or bad. That's a story about which market actually made sense for Ford to keep fighting in. Now, I want to be fair here, because it's easy to look at this with hindsight and act like the decision was obvious the whole way through. It wasn't, not from where Ford was sitting in the early 90s. The trucking industry itself was in the middle of a period where a handful of manufacturers were consolidating and specializing hard, doubling down on nothing but heavy trucks, building relationships with fleet buyers that went back generations, offering service networks specifically built around long-haul trucking. Ford was trying to compete in that world as basically a side business, a division inside a much bigger automaker whose main focus was cars and light trucks. And when you're the company treating something as one piece of a much larger portfolio, going up against companies whose entire existence depends on getting that one thing right, that's a hard position to win from long-term, even with good products. And I think that's actually the real lesson buried in this whole story, more than the specific dates or the dollar amounts. It's not really about whether the Aeromax was a good truck, because by most accounts it was a solid piece of engineering. It's about what happens when a company treats a legacy business as something they can keep half committing to, investing just enough to stay competitive but never enough to actually lead, and then acts surprised when the market share keeps sliding anyway. Ford's own people said they wanted to lead the heavy truck market in the late 80s. And instead of building the organization and the focus that leading a market actually requires, they built one more truck platform, hoped it would be enough, and folded within 2 years when it wasn't. There's something almost familiar about that pattern if you've ever worked inside a company that had one really strong core business and a handful of side projects hanging off of it. The side projects get resources when things are going okay, and get cut fast the moment leadership needs to focus or the balance sheet gets tight. Heavy trucks were never Ford's identity the way cars and light trucks were, even though for a couple decades they were genuinely good at it and genuinely competitive in it. But being good at something and being committed to something long-term, those aren't the same thing, and this whole episode is a pretty clean example of that gap. What's kind of wild is how little trace of it is left now if you're not specifically looking for it. Drive past the Kentucky truck plant today and you'll see Super Duty pickups and expeditions and navigators rolling off the line, tens of thousands of them a year, a facility that's been expanded and modernized well past what it looked like in the Louisville line days. Unless you know the history, there's nothing telling you that building used to be one of the biggest heavy truck plants in the country, turning out trucks that held their own against Kenworth and Peterbilt for the better part of 30 years. And out on actual highways, the trucks themselves mostly disappeared too. Aeromax and Louisville trucks from the 90s are getting rarer every year, the kind of thing you might spot once at a truck show among 200 other rigs, sitting there as basically the last visible reminder that Ford used to build these things at all. A lot of them ended up converted for other uses, farm trucks, fire departments, that kind of second life heavy trucks often get once the original owner moves on. Which is its own kind of fitting, honestly, because that's basically what happened to Ford's whole heavy truck business. It didn't die, it just moved on to being something else under somebody else's name. So when people ask why Ford isn't in the semi-truck business anymore, the short answer people usually give is that they sold it to Freightliner in 1997. That part's true, but it kind of skips past everything that actually made that decision make sense or not make sense, depending on how you look at it. It skips the 10 years of warning signs before it happened. It skips the $500 million bet that came right before the exit instead of somewhere earlier when it might have mattered more. And it skips what that same factory space turned into right afterward, which honestly tells you more about Ford's real priorities than the exit itself does. Because in the end, Ford didn't walk away from trucks. They walked away from one specific kind of truck, the kind built for professional drivers hauling freight across the country, and they walked straight into a different kind of truck, the kind built for regular people who wanted something big and capable for work or towing or just daily driving. And that second version turned out to be a much, much bigger business than the first one ever was, which maybe says more about where American manufacturing was actually headed by the late 90s than anything specific to Ford as a company. The mass consumer truck market was about to explode, and the specialized heavy-duty trucking market, as real and important as it is, was never going to be that. The Kentucky truck plant is still there, still one of the biggest employers in that part of Louisville, still turning out vehicles by the tens of thousands every year. It just makes a completely different kind of truck now, for a completely different kind of buyer, and there's nothing on the building itself that tells you it used to be something else entirely.